to share with you some insights that I have gathered over 40 years of teaching experiences. I have been delaying the act of writing it out till I am very sure that yes, what I have come up is relevant and meaningful. My effort was to reduce the amount of terminology that is necessary to create a framework where we can fit in all types of designs, all types of creations. It was also very necessary for me to understand what is it that motivates a student. And it is in this context that I find that bringing purpose is very, very important. And recently I came across this very beautiful saying by Patanjali. We all have known Patanjali for his yoga postures. Perhaps we don't know that he also said that when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break up their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. And you will find yourself in a new, great and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties and talents become alive. And I think this is not only true of individuals, it is true of organizations and programs. Whenever we design a program, we must instill purposes into it. When we have students, we must provide them purpose. When we provide them purpose, they feel motivated. And I think this is very important. This is what I have realized over many years of working with students. And I think it is in this context that I would like you to reflect on the evolution of the brain itself and what is it that happened during this evolution. One of my teachers at the Royal College, he said something very interesting. He said, design is to do with relationships. And that's where his definition of design stopped, which was a remarkable thing because it left me the whole life to explore what these relationships should be. And I think this is very important, to have definitions but keep them open. If you look at the evolution of the brain, what does the brain has to do? It has to find the guy or the animal or the creature has to find its way around. It has to be conscious. It has to develop relationships between the hand and the feet and the head and so on and so forth, between himself and his other colleagues and his environment, and should be able to find obstacles and go around the obstacles, and should be able to see predators and be able to so on and so forth. Look further. This is the second stage, where they work together. Now, what I'm saying is that the brain has evolved to be able to handle relationships, to build relationships. It has also evolved to work collaboratively. If we understand this, half our task of designing an education program is over. This is an innate potentiality of the human brain, to be able to work together, to be able to find relationship, and to be able to step out into the future. If animals elect a leader, it is not because the leader is very strong. It is because the leader would be able to guide them in uncertainty, take them to better pastures, and so on and so forth. Now this we have to understand. If you look at education, all disciplines, they are to do with relationships. If you look at the capability to find new things, to move into the future, it's again there. Now, the human mind has evolved a variety of intelligences because you have to innovate at all those levels. There is the kinesthetic intelligence, there is the spatial intelligence, and mathematical intelligence, so on and so forth. Now, we have to find relationships at each of these levels, and we have to innovate at each of these levels. Now, these two things we have to understand. Then only we can design an education system. So seeking, exploring, and establishing relationship is at the core of the brain activity. Working together, coping with uncertainty, stepping into the future is also an essential property of the human brain or any brain. We are very fond of selecting intelligent students but we have no roadmap as to what we will do with those intelligent students we have selected. And I think it's very important to develop a roadmap to be able to see how intelligence can grow. Unless we establish these types of definitions, it is impossible to develop any type of an education program. So intelligence is the ability to see relationships or configurations. You take an IQ test, there's one relationship that you have to discover. In a creativity test, it is the ability to see many different relationships or configurations. In inventiveness, it is the ability to build viable and meaningful configurations. And innovation, the ability to build new socially, culturally meaningful configurations. Raghav was also talking about it. Very important. If you look at this, at the level of intelligence, you are working with objects. At the level of innovation, you are working with values. That's important. And today I'm beginning to feel that design is to create embodiments which capture values, which hold values together. It has nothing to do with form. And I think Indian design is distinguished by that. It works around values, encompassing, embodying values. If you look at intelligence, it is to do with quick thinking. If you look at innovation, it is to do with reflective. We are encouraging students only at that level. We are ignoring them here. We have to design a curriculum which takes intelligent students and takes him through towards innovation. And I think this is important, to create a structure in the program which does that. Very nice word, I love it. I'm very fond of looking at morphemes in words. This captures the whole meaning of the word innovation. Over, there has to be a seminal idea. It has to be new, novel. It has to draw ovation. Unless these three things are satisfied, it's not an innovation. And we all value innovation. We are very eager to give ourselves credit that we have innovated. So at a very premature stage also we say, well, I have an innovation. No, there is a potential for innovation there. One has to work on it. And I think once we recognize that, we can move towards it. This is a very, very favorite diagram of mine. The horizontal axis represents creativity. So you have emotional creativity, you have technical creativity. There is no product which is 100% technical. There will be always some emotional content in it. Similarly, there will be no product which is 100% emotional. There will be always some technical content to it. The vertical axis represents care. Caring for oneself, hedonistic. Caring for others, ascetic. So whatever you do, whatever you design, either you would be caring for yourself or you would be caring for somebody else. Whatever you design, either there will be emotional thinking in it or there will be technical thinking in it. Now in this very simple framework, I capture all the design creations that one can think of, cross-culturally. If I can do that, when I talk of a history of design, it need not be Western-oriented. It will appeal to my students, my country, any culture. Later, I was able to see some insights from our mythology, which further reinforced my belief in the system. Ganesha, Kartikeya. They were both given a task. Kartikeya solves it in a technical fashion. He jumps on his peacock and goes around the earth. Ganesh solves it in an emotional fashion. Through the mythology, we have emphasized the importance of these two different styles of thinking. It has also emphasized that there is an importance in the emotional thinking. Saraswati represents the emotional side of creation. Vishwakarma represents the technical side of creation. Architecture, tools, carpentry, so on and so on, blacksmithing. Look at the vertical axis. Diti, Aditi, both are sisters. One gives birth to Devtas, the other gives birth to Asurs, but both of them are remarkable. set of creatures. Through this mythology of Samudra Manthan, they bring out the importance of the two being the two sides of the same coin. Importance of them to work together. I think it's very important. I look at values. So we took a list of 350 value terms. And we said, what type of values are required if I have to do emotional design? And what type of values are required for technical design? And what type of values if I have to care for myself, design something for myself? And what type of values if I have to care for the environment, care for the others? Now these values are important. We have to inculcate these values in the education system. We are talking of values and education. Education is to do with values. It is not to do with facts and information. It is to do with values. Facts and information is incidental. They have value because they have some values embedded in it. Manufacturing emotional experiences, whether it's a stand-up show or a magic show or a dance or a theater or filmmaking or a holy festival, you are able to capture them. Once you understand the meaning of these words, hedonistic and aesthetic, technical and emotional, it is very clear to map them and say what goes where. So making muffins or making wine or doing some farming, strip farming, or you have the Amul collection system or some prosthesis or some high-tech manufacturing machines. And you are able to classify it. And this way you know what type of thinking is required in what product, what type of values are required. Germany may be very good at technical design because culturally they are inculcating certain values. Spain, Italy would be good in certain type of design because culturally they are inculcating those values. So in India, we may be doing shoddy lifts because we are not inculcating those values in our technicians or engineers. Very interesting, muffin. So it's not fully designed. You allow a certain type of design to emerge as part of the process, and thereby you add emotional content to it. Sari, space suit. Monk suit, a gladiator suit. Cinderella's chariot, or a rover, or going on a donkey, or going in an armored vehicle. Fatehpur Sikri, or a multi-story flats, or a farmhouse, or a hut. And you know, once you understand the meaning of these words, it's very easy to classify. And I'm just focusing on 4 because it becomes a little easier to understand. Once you understand, then you can go into more complexity. A pyramid, or a Taj Mahal, or burying a person under the ground, or freezing the dead body in the hope that technology would be possible to revive them. Products, when they are first created, could be very technical in nature. But as they get embedded in the society, in the culture, they have to have more emotional content in it. This we have seen in case of laptops and in case of mobile phones, in case of a candle, simple thing like a candle. And this is true for the other end also. Okay? So you have emotional animation building systems, animation being built, because emotion is being desired on a mass scale, and you have to develop technology to achieve that. So you will develop technology, and so you would move from this end to that. This is all matter of what is required by the culture. Now, if you look at New India, that's where we are. If you look at traditional India, that's the green part. Okay? Now, this green part actually in 1800 provided 25% of the world export market. Indian rupee was very, very strong. Even in 1970, it was 5 rupees to $1. That was because we were constraining imports. Now, I sometimes wonder if the unorganized sector today is represented by this traditional economy, this green part. Is urbanization represented by that red part? Is our education system focused on that red part only. Our traditional education system was more to do with emotion and aesthetics, and that's why it was very sustainable. The designing was very, very sustainable. If you look at contemporary Western education, I think it's growing downwards. So initially there was a lot of emphasis on technical, but emotional also grew, and now it is growing downwards. It began with the hedonistic, technical, emotional, but now with sustainability issues, etc. What we should be doing is we should allow both these things to flourish. And if we allow both of them to flourish, both stand to gain from each other. If you look at the variety of intelligences, it is the red part that is being cultivated through the formal educational program. The green part is all being cultivated through extracurricular activities. Our current schooling system, you send everybody through a narrow pipe, and then you allow specializations to happen. The desired schooling system should be the other way around. It should give you choices right below. And then everything will converge. It will converge in the direction of the design thinking or creation thinking or evolution thinking, whatever it is, that is embedded in our ecosystem. So there is an economy of the ecosystem also. There is a sociology of the ecosystem also. And I think one can look into it. So creativity and care are essential. And I think we have to cultivate in the student this ability to care, to be able to see, to be able to be responsive. To me, perhaps it seems that these two characteristics are the fundamental predisposition of the universe. Perhaps all laws of physics, chemistry, thermodynamics, biology are designed to enhance creativity and care. If I look at ecosystem or biological system, there's tremendous amount of creativity that one sees. And there is a tremendous amount of care. These two things are fundamental, and we have to bring these two purposes into our education system. So we must think in terms of having a roadmap of how we develop intelligence into innovation, how we develop creativity and care, how we look at the larger scenario of India or of the world, and see how everybody can flourish. Altruism is a very important value which is essential to a democratic system. But when we talk of meritocracy and so on and so forth, and exclusiveness, and a lot of debate that is going on, it shows that there is lack of altruism. So development of creativity and an important purpose of education. Now, how do we develop this caring? And so we take the students through these are the various needs, let's say physiological needs and safety needs, and how these are being fulfilled at different age groups. How are they being fulfilled by different cultures, by different economic segments, social segments. And then you have a variety of solutions. And then you can focus on what really needs to be delivered. So like Raghu said, that it's important to know your user. Understand. If you care, then you must know about your user. And then we celebrate. And what is it that we celebrate? We celebrate as an individual, we celebrate as a culture. And there's a lot of meaning in there. And somebody has to design those things. This is the second part that one has to understand. And that how knowledge is structured, and how development in one part of the knowledge leads to development in other parts of knowledge. And once we learn how things are related, it's very easy to accumulate and store a lot of information in the brain. So how energy could lead to new materials, how materials can lead to new type of structures, how it can lead to new types of machines and control systems, and so on. And this type of a connectivity, or let's say the building of larger and larger structures, is true of anything, whether it's music or language or anything. So there'll be words and the way you compose the words together into sentences and the type of grammars that you have. And then there's product, system, services, and environment. So if you are talking of milk products, you cannot forget about the environment that is required for the cows. And if you are talking of healthcare, you cannot forget about the type of environment that you would require in the hospitals. Now I will quickly rush through some of the designs that the students did. And I think these result of is because I think they understood the importance of care. So here was design, which was really not selected by the jury, but Chairman Bill Gates came forward and said, here is a design with immense amount of potential. So this was a school packed PC. Obviously, you don't want your children to grow up with keyboards, do you? They have to learn to write and so on and so forth. Here is a street light, which doubles up as a environment cleaning device also. The pole is hollow. You could have technology built into it, which will clean up the air also. Getting into a car and getting out of the car is perhaps the most difficult part, no matter how good a car it is, how expensive it is. And here is a car that is designed for the elderly. And here's another version of that same problem. Here, when the door opens, the seat also rotates. So when the door opens, the seat rotates, and it's easy to step out. Here is a vehicle that was designed for the campus. The objective was to reduce the footprint. So the handlebar has been brought and connected with the seat. Now, when the student is inspired with some purpose, I don't have to do anything. They'll go and find the solution, they'll develop the prototype, they'll prove themselves. Now, rendering tools are very useful as far as capturing emotions are concerned. But building prototypes is very important if you have to sort out the technical parts. So both have to be cultivated. Here's another design. We all have seen the whole family going on motorcycles, and this is what inspired Ratan Tata to develop the Nano. But we said the cost of ownership also has to be low. It cannot be very higher, much higher than a motorcycle. And this was a solution. So the student has a purpose, he likes the purpose, and so he goes out and builds a prototype and proves to himself. Very interesting design. This will appeal to Ms. Professor Garg. When a wheelchair owner has to go longer distance, he has to be lifted out, put in the seat, and the wheelchair has to be put in the dicky and so on and so forth. And you reach your destination, again you go through that ordeal. But here is a vehicle design so that the wheelchair owner can drive up the vehicle, latch on and drive off. So there is no sound here, but so the purpose of education, which I would like to be embedded into, is exploration of relationship rather than stating of facts. Curriculum built around a roadmap for development of intelligence. Cultivation of all forms of creativity and caring. Bringing values into the core of the education system. Integrating emotion, technology, and care. We have known Patanjali for the yogic posture, but he also realized that purpose is the posture. Posture determines the flow, and the flow determines the destiny. Thank you very much.